Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tom, for that lovely introduction. I know that I'm the one keeping you from the wine, so I'm going to get right to the point. I had a minute out there, and my mom called me, and she said, "Oh, where are you speaking?" And I told her, and she said, "You're not going to talk about crack cocaine again, are you?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Can't you do anything else?" And I said, "I don't think so." For those of you who know the Freakonomics story, it's a great place to begin. I was a graduate student at the University of Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs of California. Studied theoretical mathematics, thought I was going to be an engineer, and I came to the University of Chicago because I sort of fell out of favor with science and math, and I just wanted to try sociology, and I got there, and I wanted to work with a very eminent sociologist, William Julius Wilson. And he took me under his wing, and he said, "Well, why don't you read a little bit?" And I got a little fidgety just sitting in the office, and I said, "Well, what are you working on?" He said, "We have a survey project about youth in poor neighborhoods." And I said, "Well," and I didn't tell him, I said, "Let me construct a survey, and I'll go out and I'll try it by myself. I'll go out and I'll walk around the university a little bit." I had just come off the tour with Grateful Dead, so I had my tie down, I had really long hair, and I don't know what people thought of me, but I was armed with a clipboard, and I went into a housing development. Tall building. I figured there was a lot of people. Somebody would answer my questions. And with this clipboard and a survey that I constructed, I walked into the room and into the lobby, and it smelled awful, and it looked like nobody was living there. Later I found out it was abandoned. And this guy said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm looking for the Williams family." And I said some other families, and he said, He said, "They don't live here." And he said, "But come with me." I said, "Okay, I have an escort. This will be nice." And so he took me around the corner, and there were these guys playing dice and gambling. And he said, "This guy says he's here to ask some questions." And they didn't believe me. He said he's from the university. So they said, "Go ahead and ask the question." And I asked the first question. And the first question was, "How does it feel to be black and poor?" And they kind of looked around, and then I went ahead and I gave them the choices because it was multiple choice. I said, "Very bad, bad, good, very good." And the answer that they gave, F you, was not one of the choices. So I figured I'd have to reconstruct my survey instrument. And they then called the leader over. And this really strong, beautiful looking African American man, about my age, mid-20s, came, and diamonds on him, and really strong presence, sort of like Moses crossing the parting of the Red Sea. And he said, "Okay, tell me what you're doing." And by now it had been about 5 or 6 hours. I was sitting in this stairwell, wondering whether they were going to let me go. And I asked him the same question, and he said, "I'm not black." I said, "I'm sorry." And I said, "How does it feel to be African American and poor?" He said, "I'm not African American." And he went and he gave me this taxonomy. What's the difference between the use of these words, African American and poor? And I thought, man, I'm never going to learn any of this asking these stupid questions. And he said, "Just wait here." And he told everyone to keep him here. And these kids were like 15 and 16. They'd have fun with me. They'd come up with a knife. And I'd been camping recently. And I thought, oh, it kind of looks like the one I have. And they taught me with it. And I developed a relationship with this guy. They eventually let me go the next morning. I went home, and I thought, hey, what more trouble could I get into? And so I decided to go back. I took a shower. I brought some beer at the store, and I brought it back to them. And I developed a relationship with this street gang leader whose name is JT. And he started shaking his head when he saw me come back to him. And I came back because he said, "Listen, if you want to know what life is like in some of these neighborhoods, you really got to stop asking those stupid questions. And you got to live with us, or you got to hang around us." And I took that as an invitation.